Okay, so I said we were going to learn this top Tosefos, Dibra Maschel v'i betam amay chayev, which means, and if it's a tam, why should he be chayev? So basically, the Gemara there was a brisa, and the brisa had a reisha and a seifa. Reisha means the first part, like the head, the rosh, and the seifa means the end. So the reisha said that if the owner pulls out his animal, there was another animal that jumped on top. If the owner pulls out his animal from underneath, so he was pater. And the Gemara thought that this is a case of a muad, and a muad means that the owner would have to pay the owner of the top animal would have to pay full price for the death of the bottom animal, and therefore it was a case of no loss. And nevertheless, the person was pater for killing the upper animal, even though he wouldn't have a loss anyway. The owner would have to pay full price because it was a muad. And so that would be a question on Rav Yehuda, who holds that you're not allowed to take the law into your own hand if there's no loss. So we said, no, it's dealing with a tam. And that was a simple answer. And the tam means that he only pays half, the upper animal would only have to pay half price if it killed the lower animal, which means that the lower animal would have a loss. And therefore, when he pulls his animal out, so he would be pater even if it causes the death of the upper animal, because he would be allowed to take the law into his own hand according to everyone, because there's a case of a loss. He would only get half the payment for the value of his animal. So he said, if it's a tam, then the Seifa said, if he, oops, I left out that, the pushed off. If he pushed off the top animal, then it says he's chayiv. So the Gemara asked, betam am I chayiv? Why should he be chayiv? We'll just put tam over here. One thinks that it's if we're dealing with a tam, because we said that it was a tam in the Reisha, so we wonder why should he be chayiv if it's a tam? There's a loss. You can do whatever you want. And the Gemara says, no, 1 second, you pushed off the top. It says, let's do, because the answer was, the Gemara answers that he pushed and didn't pull his animal. Didn't pull his animal. He was supposed to pull out his animal instead of pushing the upper animal. And let's assume that if he would have pulled out his animal, there's 2 ways to learn the Gemara, but let's say if he would have pulled out his animal, it wouldn't have caused such a damage. And he didn't do that. Instead, he pushed off the up one, so that's why he's chayiv. Now, Tosefos is going to discuss what were we thinking when we asked the question, V'i betam am I chayiv? And if it's a tam, why should he be chayiv? Of course he should be chayiv. We know that he pushed off the top. He should have pulled out the bottom one. So the Gemara says, Tosefos says, it is good, if we're dealing with a muad. So we understand why he would be chayiv, because there was no loss. Yesh is chayiv. He should become chayiv. Yesh there is to him to be chayiv. She'ein a bol, because he's not anxious. Bol is anxious. And and he should have pulled out. Shemtai is pulled it out. Pulled it out instead of pushing off the top one, because he wasn't anxious. He's kind of like he has insurance. His animal's about to die, but he knows he's going to get paid for it anyway. So he should have made a rational decision, and instead of salvaging his animal by killing the other one directly, he should have tried to just pull his out, and maybe the other animal would have been fine. But he didn't do that, so obviously he's going to be chayiv, and we expect him to have the proper thought, the proper it's a good word for it, level-headed. Should have been level-headed to make a proper decision. Aval betam ayri, but if he's dealing with a tam, and now he's going to be anxious because he's not going to get paid full price. So loy sal kadaitach shahayalei l'shemtei. We think in the sal kadaitach means enter the mind. Go into the mind, go up to the mind, enter your mind. It didn't enter the mind that he should have to pull out his lower one, his animal. Because he's anxious. Bahal again is that same word as over there. He's anxious. He's under stress. I'll put another word. He's under stress, but it's the same concept. Shiyari lahafsid, he's afraid that he's going to lose half his half the value. Like we said, a tam only pays half, right? Tam only pays half. V'lei masika daite, and it wouldn't enter his mind l'shaimtai to pull out his animal as opposed to pushing off the upper one, because he's going to lose so much. So basically, what Tosefos is saying in short is that originally the Gemara thinks that because he's under stress and he's anxious, So we assume that he can do anything he wants in order to salvage his animal, because he's going to lose half the value because it's a tam. By a muad, we wouldn't say that because he's not anxious, he's not under stress. He should be level-headed and pull out his animal rather than pushing off the upper animal. However, the Gemara then concludes later on, Tosefos doesn't get into this, but the Gemara says that no, because you, even in a case of a tam, you still should have had enough level-headedness to be able to not directly kill the upper animal by pushing it off. You should have just pulled out your own, and then hopefully nothing would have happened to the upper one. Maybe it would. It didn't. Anyway, we saw in the ratio it did, but there was less of a chance that that would be a harm to the upper animal if you would have pulled out your animal. And the Gemara is saying that what we're understanding from this Tosefos is what we expect from a person that's a victim, and how much stress he has can change our expectation of him. But in the end, the Gemara concludes that even if when he's under stress and he's anxious, we still have high expectations from him. Okay, that's it's really just explaining a havamina of the Gemara, this Tosefos.